Hi folks, this is going to be the second part of the Introduction to Astronomy class. Sorry about that, my pen just got a little weird on me. What we're going to talk about is how are these labs going to work. You're going to be doing a lab class at home, and so I want to describe that a little bit. I want to show you how you're going to actually submit your homework, and we're going to go on a little tour of the online class itself. So let's get started with this. Okay, we're going to get out of there, and here we go. First off, when you go to our learning management system at the moment is called E360, and you log into your course, couple things I want to point out. Right-hand side near the bottom, it's going to have links to some really important things. The schedule, what's due when, a list of the equipment that we're going to need for the at-home labs, and then a copy of the syllabus. And that syllabus is something that is the detailed information about grading and submitting homework and things like that, that you're welcome to take a peek at if you're so inclined. Now, the first thing that I recommend that you do is you go to the Lessons tab. And if you tap Lessons, this is going to list the lessons that we're going to go through in order. Now, the first thing that you should probably do when you have, especially if you've never taken an online class here at CVTC, is go through this Getting Started lesson. And it has a whole bunch of information about no-show policy and where you can get technology help, academic support. Wonderful people are out there. There's a lot of resources here at CVTC, but you need to actually go forth and find them. Information exactly how to use E360, etc. So this is a place where you can actually find a lot of really useful things. Now, under this, there is an assignment. There is an introductory discussion. Every student who takes one of our online courses is asked to do this introductory discussion. It's basically, we're not going to see each other face to face, so it's a place for you to say, hi, here's my name, I live in this town, and I really like, demolition derbies and flower gardening, or whatever it is. Tell us a couple of things about yourself to show us your personality, but please only share what you are comfortable sharing. After you've gone through that Getting Started lesson, one of the other things that's interesting is the section called Frequently Asked Questions. Again, this is a place you can find the class syllabus, the day-to-day class schedule, and my schedule. So in case at any point in the semester you want to look at those, here's another place you can find them. After that, I suggest you actually just start at lesson number 1. If you start at lesson number 1, and every lesson begins the same way. A little description of what we're going to study in this lesson. It's going to go through introductory instructions in words, introductory videos. These videos are going to be found in here as well. And then there's going to be a copy of the notes. Now, as I lecture, I'm going to be using a set of PowerPoint notes. Some students like to print these. I highly recommend printing them. Some students don't want to print them or don't have the access to a printer or ink or don't have the money to do that and just take notes on paper, and that works just fine. But the PowerPoint notes are designed so that you can have all the important information is right there, but I leave blanks in those PowerPoint notes, and those blanks are available so that you can fill in the important words as you watch the lectures. Below that, in every lesson, there is the study guide. Now, these study guides, you are going to, I have these pre-opened. Each study guide is a homework assignment that you're going to turn in, and they are designed to help you read the textbook and understand what you're reading, or picking out the important parts. I don't know about you, but when an instructor says, read the textbook, I never know what do they think is important. Well, that's what the study guides are for. And I have organized these so that, for example, if the study guide says origins, that's the name of the section in the textbook. If the study guide says 1-1, that's the name of the section in the textbook, so you know exactly where to find the answers to the questions. Now be warned, some of the study guide questions will also include information from lab and from lecture, but these are to help you practice and make sure you really understand what's going on. Now, after you have printed this study guide, you have two options. You can either print the study guide and then submit it, or you can fill it out online and keep it as an electronic document and submit it that way. You have two options. After you've gone through that, then you can start watching the videos. So there are individual videos for you to watch, and periodically in between my lectures, and each one of my lectures I try and give you a time, approximately how long is that lecture going to take you, because you might only have a half hour at one moment in time to study, so you can kind of judge how much time is this going to take. Interspersed between my lecture videos, there are going to be links to YouTube videos, and these YouTube videos are beautiful illustrations of points that we're talking about in class. Near the end of every lesson, you are going to find a constellation video. In the course of this semester, you are going to learn 44 separate constellations, and 3 or 4 of them, because how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So how do you learn 44 constellations? Every lesson, you're going to be responsible for learning 3 or 4 more. And so I've got a little lecture video about each one of the constellation sets that we're going to work on with each lesson. And these constellations from this lesson are fair game on our upcoming quiz. So after the constellation videos, there's always going to be our little prepared penguin, and our prepared penguin's going to let you know that you are ready to do the lab. That's why I call him my prepared penguin. Below that is going to be the lab. Now the lab is a document that you open, and I highly recommend that this happens to be a different lab than the one in lesson 1, but I highly recommend that you print this, and when you print this, you can then fill in the lab itself. Astronomy labs are a lot of practice. You get to actually use the information we're talking about. So you print the lab. It's going to list what pieces of equipment you need for that lab, and it's also going to talk you through from step 1 to step 2 what you're asked to do. This section, you're asked to label different things on the globe. This section, it's a check. Can you work with latitude and longitude? As we go further on, we're going to start talking about right ascension and declination. Can you label things with right ascension and declination? These are all celestial navigation things. Some little checks, okay? Looking at the animation above, so there's video links in a lot of the different labs. Can you understand some of the information here? Also, this particular lab asks you to use your planisphere. And so every lab's going to have multiple parts, multiple pages. And after you are done completing the entire lab, filling all the pieces out on the pieces of paper, then there is a place to submit it. In the lessons, there is going to be a submit for each thing you have to turn in. So a submission for the study guide and a submission box for the online lab. So if you are ready, you finished a lab, you hit the submit button, what's going to happen is a window like this is going to open up. And most of the time you're going to have multiple pages. If you take photographs of your lab and you're going to submit them, each individual photograph separately, you can click the upload multiple files. Then you can browse your computer to find those individual files and upload them individually right there. So that's how you're actually going to upload those videos. I'm going to encourage you to please put your name on things when you upload them, because of the fact that it's just going to be a little bit easier for me to keep track of things. So for example, you might say lab number 1, Smith, page 1, or something like that. You'll figure out a system that makes sense to you. Okay, at the end of each one of these lessons, there is also, besides the submission of the lab and submission of the study guide, there is also going to be your quiz. Each one of these quizzes, as I mentioned, is 10 questions, multiple choice, 5 minutes, worth 20 points. And that you do right there. And the final thing in each lesson is a checklist. Double check you've done everything, and if you've done everything, yahoo, you're ready to go on to the next one. Now that's the big overview of what you are up to as far as submitting and how the lessons are going to work. When you are done with lesson 1, you go on to lesson 1.5. And 1.5 is just practice because we're going to learn constellations, so this is a collection of games and activities to help you learn the constellations. There's some constellation flashcards that you can print and cut out and make your own flashcards if you are so inclined. I've got some apps that I recommend, the PowerPoints that I use for my constellation videos, and then some online games. All these games are 100% optional. Some people like them, some people go, nah, I'm not using those, and I get it. Do whatever works for you. After that, go on to lesson 2, and lesson 2 is going to have the same format. PowerPoint notes, study guide that you're going to print, fill in, and submit for a grade, videos, interspersed with some YouTube videos. At the end of the lesson, there's our constellation group that's going to be fair game on this coming up quiz, our lab, and places to submit, quiz, and then the checklist. So every lesson looks very, very similar. Let me add a point or two before we finish this video, and that is sometimes, and I'm going to go back to another lesson, the previous lesson, to show you this. Some students have a challenge opening some of the websites I send them to. We're going to use a lot of simulations from NASA and different universities, etc., because it's astronomy. It's hard to do astronomy in your bedroom. If you ever have trouble opening any of the websites that you're sent to, please try switching your browser. I have checked every one of these links. They all work. But sometimes if you happen to be using Google Chrome or Safari or some internet browsers will not open the links. So please double check, change browsers, then try, and I suspect that's going to answer a lot of your situations. Okay, 2 other things before I let you go, and one is the equipment list. This is on the primary page, front page of our course. And this is a list of all the equipment you are going to need to do these at-home labs. Now, I've designed all the labs so that they are common household things. Of course, you're going to need a computer, access to a printer. You're going to need a smartphone or a tablet so you can take some photos, and those photos are how you're going to upload and submit your assignments. Pencils, some paper, tape measure, and then over on the right-hand side here, I'm giving you some alternatives. So maybe you don't have a tape measure, but you've got, oops, I just undid something, but maybe you've got a meter stick or a yardstick. That'll work. You don't have to have a tape measure. Tape, sometimes you might have Scotch tape or blue tape or duct tape. Tape, you just need tape. So here's all of these things. I try and give you some alternatives based on stuff you could probably find around the house. And this glass is not designed for you to have to buy anything. Even when I say Play-Doh, you just need something squishy. You know, if you can take a piece of bread and make something squishy, cool. So there's a lot of different ways of doing things. Part of science is critical thinking and being creative. So on these at-home labs, sometimes you're going to be creative, and that's, to me, a lot of fun. Okay, I think that is pretty much it for this section. As you get into the lessons, I'll have individual pieces of information to share with you as you go along, but best of luck, and you are ready to launch. So have a good time. Astronomy is lots and lots of fun. Hopefully talk to you soon.